28 Years Later is one of those movies that even if it was kind of meh on the first watching, it's so thematically dense and artistically inspired that you end up thinking more fondly of it as time goes on. Even as I make this video, I'm appreciating it more and more. That's in short supply in this day and age with the dreck that they bring up. And you would think that a almost reboot that's starting off a new trilogy would be kind of vapid and empty given what we've gotten so far, but this really isn't that. So no matter what I think about this movie, I have to give it its flowers. So we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about the plot. We're going to talk about the themes. We're going to talk about the directors and what they meant by their creative choices, what other people are trying to inject that the directors and writers maybe didn't mean. And then we're going to answer the big question, is it any damn good? For the first movie, 28 Weeks Later, if you saw it around the time it came out, it was pretty groundbreaking at the time. This is like pre-Walking Dead. It was grainy, it was shaky camera, manic soundtrack, super stylized and grounded, exactly what you want from kind of a low budget, more indie zombie movie, and it was very realistic. Now the themes were heavy there. You have Cillian Murphy wandering around lost as the world's ending, and he ends up finding the people that he distrusts in the beginning because of course the zombies aren't the real threat. It's man. And they end up forming kind of an ad hoc, like little nucleus of a family. It's very hopeful in that way. You ditch Alex Garland and Danny Boyle and you move on to a new creative team for 28 Weeks Later, which I really liked, but it makes it broader. Now there's a military team in. People are coming back in. We got it under control. Oh shit, there's another outbreak. We're mowing people down. Doesn't matter if it's men, women, children, infected or not. We got to stop the spread. Very dark, very action-packed. I think very fondly of that movie as well. Now, this movie is a big deal because you're bringing back Danny Boyle and Alex Garland. Their chops are pretty impressive. Danny Boyle is director, Trainspotting, The Beach, 127 Hours, Slumdog Millionaire, Sunshine, one of my favorite like little indie sci-fi movies that nobody knows about. It's like an episode of Love, Death, and Robots, except it's Cillian Murphy and it's a full damn movie. Now, Alex Garland was a writer for Sunshine. He also did Dread, Ex Machina, Annihilation, Devs, which is a cool little limited series. I think it was on FX. So a lot of really interesting creative sci-fi in their repertoire. So they bring back this team, and it's important for a couple of reasons to start off. One, this is absolutely a retcon of the second one, and people have been talking about this a lot. The second one ended with the zombies starving. That was going to be how we wait them out. We just got to starve them of food and they'll go away. And also, there was a spread to Paris, which has also been retconned because in this movie, only the UK is under permanent quarantine. Now, this is also a trilogy. That took me by surprise. I didn't know going in until we got to the end. They start introducing characters, and I'm like, what time is it? Do we have time for this? Oh, to be continued. Fantastic. I'll see you in a year and a half when they come up with the next one. And before I get too into it, there are spoilers here, so mind yourselves. I warned you. So we got a new set of protagonists. The dad, the mom, the kid. The dad is Jamie, who's played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, Quicksilver, and his wife, Jodie Comer, is playing Isla, who's like bedridden. She's sick from the beginning. We don't know what's wrong with her. She's always in bed, and it's weighing on the dad. You can tell he's trying to keep a brave face for his son. And then you got 12-year-old Spike, Alfie Williams, who's like coming of age in this village, and the village is a little older, backwards, a little bit of a medieval vibe, as you would expect, as they're hand washing clothes and having like festivals and different celebrations, things that feel very old world that you would expect in this tight-knit community, because they are explicitly on this small little island that is only accessible to the mainland through a bridge that you can only get across at low tide. So they're doing well. They found a way to thrive, to protect themselves. They're starting to rebuild civilization, and they're really getting grounded in their culture. Now, there's total inconsistencies, but even on a broader scale, the different acts almost feel like different movies, and I think it is by design. So the first part of the movie is my favorite part by a mile. It's the dad, Jamie, taking Spike out for this ritual. He's 12 years old. You got to take him off the island. He's going to go through his first hunt. If he doesn't make it back, he doesn't make it back. But this is how you transcend into manhood. This is a big deal. So you're pulled into the stakes, what it means. There's real suspense. You're invested in the family, but you also get the sense that the son is just seconds away from getting them all killed. And the dad is there expertly, and I mean expertly, carrying him along, making sure they're safe while also reminding him of his marks, getting him to act, getting him to think through, pushing him along while taking him right to the brink. And it was like this beautiful father-son moment. From the beginning, you know, this is a coming-of-age story because it starts off with this ritual. Now, I think this movie would have been brilliant if that was the heart, if it was their relationship. But the film opted for more complexity and more thematic elements. I think there's pros and cons to that. As Spike gets back to the village, they have this huge celebration for him, as you would expect. They're holding him up on the chair. The dad's drinking and telling everybody how brave his son was, how he killed the walkers. He's embellishing a bit, but it's a beautiful moment. And what kind of rubbed me the wrong way is the son is like, well, that's not really what happened, Dad. You know, you're lying. And he starts to look at everything very cynically. So part of the coming of age is looking at the history and the stories and the mythology and criticizing them because he knows that wasn't his experience. Now, there's some meaning there, but I really thought for what it was, for them being at the end of the world, in their culture, surviving, thriving, him making it through this key, almost deadly adventure to like claim his manhood, that they chose to look at it cynically. That put a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not going to lie. I mean, the dad was great. The kid was great. It was a beautiful moment for him that was essential. It's even essential for everything he does after the fact. And I still can't really tell if the film appreciated that or if it is just pure cynicism for that type of hyper-masculine coming-of-age story. So Spike sneaks away and witnesses his dad engaging in some amount of indiscretion, which furthers his disillusionment and starting to question everything he saw from this community and their stories and so on. And he goes to talk to his grandfather. Now, his grandfather tells him that what he saw on the island that his dad was also lying to him about, which is a flame off in the distance, is some doctor out there. And Spike says, well, Mom's sick. Why don't we take him to the doctor? And this starts the whole second coming of age. This is like the real coming of age. It's like he took the red pill, the Matrix red pill, not the incel red pill. So Spike boldly sneaks off the island with his mom, who is going to be largely dead weight because she has lapses in memory. She's ill. She's been bedridden for a long time. And now takes her on this adventure to try and find the doctor to see if he can help his dying mom. So it's very emotional. It's very tender. It's very sweet. And you're immediately faced with the juxtaposition of the two arcs. And that involved putting Dad on the back burner. We don't see him through the rest of the movie. He doesn't, as far as we know, go out looking for Spike. They never cut back to him. And that kind of furthered the bad taste in my mouth. Now they go out, they end up finding Ray Fiennes' character, Dr. Kelson, who is this eccentric doctor who's been out there by himself, and he's built these monuments to death using the body parts of both the zombies and the victims of the zombies. And it just shows the absolute body count. And he turns it into this philosophical kind of navel-gazing thing. He talks about memento mori, remember that we all must die. And it's supposed to be Spike learning that death is part of the equation. You have to accept that. And what I'm still trying to turn around in my mouth is how this relates to the more feminine or matriarchal component, because this lesson is tied into his journey with his mom as opposed to the journey with his dad. It seems like the journey with his dad was very focused on the story, the mythology, even though everything they do was absolutely related to keeping them alive and learning the skills and bravery needed to participate in the community. But it seems like that was the non-authentic one. The authentic one is learning to grasp death, learning to let go. And it comes with the realization, this is one of the big spoilers in the movie, so you were warned. His mom has cancer and it's spread and she's dying, and she signs off on him hitting Spike with a blowgun to knock him out and her being taken away to be killed on her terms, which was a little bit strange, a little dramatic and over the top, and tonally very inconsistent. The theme was heavy. Me and my wife, we had something in both of our eyes, but you did get whiplash from that point. And it was a little cartoony when Spike wakes up and Dr. Kelson comes in with the skull of his mom that he had just killed and like boiled and wiped away all of the flesh and gave him the skull. And oh, there's a space at the very top of the tallest pile to put her skull on right as the sun is rising. It was just a little too on the nose artsy. But again, the philosophical themes, I mean, they're there. We're engaging with them. So along with those themes, we have other themes. It's isolated people going back to the old ways in England. So then I've seen people trying to make this an obvious allegory for like Brexit and COVID, because of course it's in the UK and a team of white people are going back to their old ways in order to survive. So of course there must be some toxic element. Although they're literally surviving at the end of the world. And I don't know how you can look at that cynically unless they're directly telling you that you should. I mean, this didn't sit well with me for that reason. And I'm not sure the degree to which the writers and directors really wanted us to look that way. So you have this one, Boyle and Garland sharpen the political implications by depicting the population as staunch, time-warped survivors who fetishize their distance from the rest of the world, donning metallic masks, rallying around the flag, and getting righteously pissed down at their local. Now, I hate to be that guy, but there is nothing about what actually goes on in the film that would lead you to have this takeaway unless this is kind of how you view the world already. They're at the end of the world. They've cobbled together a little village and they're thriving in the village. They've gotten a little culture among them. They now have rituals and celebrations. They have things that they do that keep them going and allow them to be productive and pass things on generationally. And framing it this way takes so much bad faith and cynicism. If they decided to put this on any other continent with any other group of people, everybody would be flipping the poetic language to celebrate the push back against the dying of the light. And all this just makes me hate film critics even more. Right here, the director and writer make no bones about the fact that their latest British zombie horror is about our post-Brexit COVID world, amid the rise of populism and what they deem as a backwards retreat into the nostalgic. Boyle confirmed that Brexit was an inspiration for the film in an interview with IGN, saying that he considers films like 28 Years Later not lectures or anything like that, but they do reflect, or there is a reflection in them of where you are and what's happening to you, really as individuals and as people. Certainly in terms of Brexit, it's unique. There's a couple of things that have happened to us in the intervening period since the first film that you thought, well, this is an opportunity to look at that. So it seems that there's people that are directly trying to ask them, is this what that meant? And the responses are kind of dialed down, like, yeah, maybe, but also films are layered. You can bring in all types of stuff and draw connections. That's far from saying they make no bones about it, this being the inspiration for X, Y, or Z, unless there is some quote that I'm missing. But they didn't seem too emphatic that that was somehow at the heart and soul of this movie that they made. Now, when they are talking about misremembering the past, they did make some weird artistic decisions to cut in like old medieval footage that was kind of jarring. And I don't think anybody really liked the artistic choices to throw in the old medieval footage. It was confusing. On the one hand, it's on the nose, it's there, it's present, it's saying, hey, look at me. But on the other hand, nobody knows exactly what the fuck they're getting at unless they go search it up later. It's, oh, okay, we're connecting these people that are thriving in their village to misremembering history. There are about a dozen ways you could do that that would not only engage with the audience better, get that message across, or at least get them thinking about it better, but that would actually tie into the storyline. So I'm going to call that an L. So much of the movie was good, you could have left that out and that theme still would have been there. This didn't add anything. It's like if you're going to put a sign saying that's what you're getting at, just put a fucking sign that says that's what you're getting at. Now, a lot of people talked about the cinematography, like the first one, 28 Days Later, they used digital camcorders and that added to kind of the grainy, low resolution feel of it that made it feel grounded. Back then, like, what are we talking about? Early 2000s? Everything was grainy. You had like Steven Soderbergh movies. Everything was just super saturated, super grainy. You felt like the screen had texture, like you could reach out and touch it like a painting. That was just in back then. For this, they used a bunch of iPhones. Now, I don't know why you would do that. Is it cheaper to use 20 iPhones instead of cameras? Probably, but people are complaining that it looked unnatural, like there's a filter over people. I didn't notice that because I'm half blind anyways, and we made the mistake of going to the VIP section. Santikos theaters have this cool upstairs VIP section where there's only like 20 seats and they're in little booths. So you can go out with your lady, you get your own table, you can't see anybody else. Real nice. We're fans. They were full, so we sat in the front row, which I thought were regular seats. We get there and they're like loungers. So you're in the front row, which sucks. You're like 5 feet from the screen and you're all the way back like you're out on vacation, like you're laying out at the beach, except it's pitch black and you're seeing this weird perspective of these fat walkers on screen. I don't know. That was our experience, but that kind of overshadowed any of the cinematography that people take issue with. Now, lastly, I want to talk about the lore, because this is a cool thing as well. They expanded on the actual zombies. This is part of the retcon as well, so they're not all just these raging zombies. They've managed to persist by forming some type of social network, which it brings up all these questions about exactly how the virus evolves, how people would evolve in the context of the virus, especially in such a short period of time. I think you have to suspend a good amount of disbelief for it, but the mechanic is kind of cool. You got these fat crawlers that are just bloated. They look, and you don't know, it's like, do they just eat enough because they're eating all the worms out of the ground? They get enough calories to get fat? Is that water retention? It was a really cool stylistic design that separated them. They're this new eerie type of Resident Evil type monster that you can't hear crawling on the ground. They sneak up behind you. And then you have kind of the regular pack zombie, but then you have the alphas now. And the alphas, because of something releases steroids to the body. They're all tall and jacked as shit, and they have like 8-foot cocks that are just swinging around. And apparently they're really hard to kill. Now, I do like me some world building. So when you see weird shit like, oh, a zombie gave birth, and I'm thinking, was she pregnant when she turned? I'm thinking, do the zombies bang? Is that something they're even able to do? I'm not entirely sure I like the idea that they can coordinate enough to actually exist as a pack. You would think that whatever the rage virus does would be so detrimental to your own health because it eats away at your brain that you would just continuously put yourself in danger, incur bodily damage, and then disintegrate. But here we are. We might be living in a universe where these zombies can bang and actually reproduce. This one we see was born uninfected. What if they're born infected? Do they now have the ability to reproduce that way? Are they going to develop parenting skills? How are they not going to kill their own? Are zombies going to be breastfeeding? What does zombie milk taste like? These are all the questions I have. Now we're at the end and Spike is on his way back from his journey, and this is the one that gave me whiplash. Again, tonal inconsistency, because we went from this really heavy, overly dramatic moment to the Jimmys popping up, dressed like this guy Jimmy Seville. I thought Jimmy was referenced to Jim from the first movie. I don't know if that was an intentional misdirect, but they're the Jimmys. They're dressed up with these ridiculous wigs and tracksuits, whatever. I, again, as a stupid American, had to look up this lore. For those of you who don't know, Jimmy Seville apparently was a very well-known DJ from I think the 60s and 70s. And he was known for doing a lot of charity work, donating a ton of money to hospitals, and he was knighted for his works. And then it turns out he's the most prolific sex offender in the history of the UK. And he had 500 victims as young as 5 years old. And he was using his role in the hospitals to cover it up. Horrible shit. So that's above my pay grade, trying to figure out thematically what the director and writer were trying to say by having this band of zombie killers pop up in their own little clique, dressed as one of the most prolific pop culture predators in the history of the UK. There's something deliberate there. I'm sure of it. I just don't know what it is. So I am eager for the trilogy. I want to see how they build upon this world. The Jimmys were goofy as hell, but, entertaining in their own right, even if your neck hurts from the direction that they took you in the last 5 minutes of the movie. But it feels like there's a lot of world building here. I also am hoping that they expand on the story of Spike and his dad. I don't want to believe that they left the entire franchise with that cynical take and everything is going to be this kid kind of moving away from that culture. They might. We'll see what it is. So far, I think it's quality. I think it's well done. I understand the complaints, but there's enough here. I think it warrants a view from just about anybody. Me and my wife did thoroughly enjoy it. And part of the reason we enjoyed it is because we like picking apart what do we think they could have done better or differently and why, and what would the movie have given up actually if it did that. So that's what I think of 20 years later. Thanks for watching, guys. Till next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.